Hey everybody, Alain Johannes here, and you're watching Life Minute TV. Woo!
And on guitar, Mr. Alain Johannes.
Alright, for this next song, we'd like to bring out our friend Alain Johannes from the great band Cricket Vultures. Alain Johannes!
Not only was he in the legendary band 11, but he was also in the band Queens of the Stone Age for a little while, in a band called Them Cricket Vultures. And I can honestly say he was the most talented motherfucker in the whole band. There's no question about that.
I met Alain Johannes and my life in music really began. I'm the most talented guy I've ever known. He's my best friend, and he was the first guy I ever met that was able to make my vision a reality. I was only able to describe what I wanted my songs to sound like, and then within an hour, we would have almost a completed song. Not only was it what I had asked for, but it also exceeded that by such a huge margin. I knew that I was going to make records with this guy as long as I possibly could. His father was a rock star in Chile, and his uncle was basically the Elvis Presley of Chile. And this is a guy who was born in Chile but raised in Mexico and came to the United States at age 13, not knowing how to speak a word of English. But by age 17, was on American Bandstand, and his backing band was the guys, of course, who ended up being the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I recently was hanging out with John Paul Jones. What a cool guy he is. You know, all we talked about was Alan, how much we both loved him, and, you know, just what a talent he was.
All right, woohoo!
Yes!
Finally, Alain Johannes in the house.
Thank you for the invitation. And actually in person this time, right?
Yes, we've spoken so many times, and we finally got you in person, which is
I know,
amazing.
here I am in New York City.
Woohoo! On your amazing U.S. World Tour.
Yeah, U.S. and World Tour.
Last night, I got to catch the show at the Iridium, which was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
And there's Alain Johannes. I'm going to play a bunch of stuff from the last 30-some years. What were we thinking, my dear? Not on this side, oh, not here.
It's been going amazingly well, a lot of fun. I decided in December, after I had a little bit of a health scare, to, you know, I've been kind of floating around anyway for the last couple of years, not really just here and there and everywhere. And I decided, like, you know, it was time to get out there and tour a lot more. So I started in March, and there's a really cool band called Earl of Hell, and they booked a tour in the UK. So we basically traveled together. They opened up the show, and then I would play half the set or a little bit less acoustically. And then they'd join me as my band, you know. And so that was the theme. And the same thing happened in Spain with Lost Satellite, you know, the band that produced.
The band you produce, we should say, all these bands you produce. Yeah.
And Earl of Hell, I'm actually working on the new record. It's going to be amazing, and mixing it and stuff. And we're going to do some more touring next year together in the UK and Ireland this time. They're from Scotland, they're a great band. And then continuing that theme, I continued on with the Devils, this awesome punk band from Italy, Gianni and Erica. And the same thing, we toured in Italy, they'd open the show, then they'd join me for some songs after my acoustic set. Continuing on with Patron, French band, same thing, played shows there. Then, it just kept going. In between, I stopped, like, the production here, production there, with Tara Hu, with Sick Joy. I love working out of the studio called La Casa Murada, just south of Barcelona. And it's one of my favorite studios to work at, so there's a little break in between tours. I go there. Then I joined my dear friends, Masters of Reality, with Chris Goss, and we did a bunch of shows together. And, then I went to Australia and New Zealand. I'm getting tired just telling you all this. Yeah, it was amazing fun. And then now brings me to the U.S. tour. I found an amazing agency called North Shore Artists, and Scott and I have been traveling together. We're both driving. He's tour manager doing the merch, and they brought us all the way from Nashville all the way to New York, and that's where we ended up yesterday at the Iridium, which was an amazing show.
It was an amazing show, and everybody was just buzzing about it. The standing ovations 4 times over.
No, it was so sweet. Yeah.
It was just really special and amazing.
Yeah, a great connection. It's a great feeling, because I didn't know whether I could, even though I've been a part of so much music. Sometimes, people that don't read Latin artists might not know that I was involved or whatever. Some of the deep fans came out, and it was a great feeling because I could play songs, from the last 30 years, and people that were fans of that, whether it was 11, There's a Session stuff or my solo work. I love it when there's a connection with the audience and I can open up to them and it becomes a circle of energy. And next thing you know, I'm playing and singing better than I possibly imagined I could, you know, which is a great feeling. And that's what happened yesterday. It was a, you know, really, really amazing night.
Yeah,
So.
people were crying, myself included. You really have had an incredible career. Songs that you've written that people don't know about. Yeah. Gosh, from the work with Chris Cornell, Euphoria Morning that you wrote and produced, Queens of the Stone Age, Desert Sessions.
Well, obviously with Euphoria Morning, it was an amazing period in our lives. You know, Natasha and I were already fans of Songwriter. When we both ended up on tour together, you know, they were listening to us, we were listening to them, and they invited us to open up for them, and began this long friendship, you know. And we'd open up for them, and they invited Natasha to guest on the record, and we just had this beautiful friendship and connection. So when Chris decided to do his first solo record, he stayed with us for a while. We wrote a bunch of songs together and prepared material. Meanwhile, we had a studio in the house because of him, because when he was staying with us, he invited Alcafaro, the president of A&M Records, that was their label, to come and listen to our stuff. And he loved it so much he offered us a record deal. And Natasha and I were ballsy enough to walk into his office and ask for the budget as a PO for the music store, so we could use it, the entire amount, to buy equipment to build a studio in the house, which we did. He said yes, which is incredible. And then we did Avant-Garde Dog like that. We had a studio at the house already. And once we developed these songs with Chris, he was going to work with Daniel Lanois. And Daniel canceled a bunch of his projects. And so Chris was like, what are we going to do? And Natasha was like, we're going to start recording tomorrow. No one needs to know, we're right here, we're going to do it. And so we did Euphoria Morning at 11 AD, which is the name of the home studio that we had. And that was just one of the most amazing creative periods of my life. 7 months making the record, a year and a half touring it. You know, to me, it's one of the most special, it's a real highlight creatively. That connection with Chris and Natasha, the three of us, you know, just had this amazing shorthand. And it was a lot of fun because we were completely outside of any kind of pressure of like needing to show anything to anybody or expensive studios or any of that stuff. So it was really great.
And it sounded just beautiful,
that was amazing.
Nothing like it.
Yeah, and then right after that period, we ended up on Interscope, you know, because A&M became Interscope, you know, because Avant-Garde Dog was postponed to come out after Euphoria Morning, but sadly it got sold, and we were label mates with Queens of the Stone Age. That whole connection started, the relationship and the friendship. Josh invited me to record some B-sides for Rated R at Sound City Studios, and from there he told us about Desert Sessions. This amazing idea and concept that you get together with a bunch of people, some of them we've never met, and the idea is to make a record in several days from scratch.
I'm making a crossing. Oh, you are. And the morning, I hear your name.
You know, recorded and composed in just a short period of time, and making new connections, new friendships. And sometimes songwriters have a longer process for this, you know, like they develop the songs and they tweak them, they fine tune them, but this is more like visceral, in the moment. Energy is everything, spontaneity is everything, you know, not a bunch of takes, you just get one or you know. So in that 7 and 8 is when I wrote Hanging Tree, Making a Cross. And then Josh asked if they could record that for Songs for the Deaf, so I went in. Also part of that record, I'm like the Mexican DJ, I'm playing like theremin and flutes and some guitars and stuff at Ebo on Hanging Tree. I met Mark Lanigan at that session, which began a long, you know, beautiful collaboration and friendship too. And then the next one, 9 and 10, is when I met PJ Harvey through Josh again, you know. And it's just amazing. What a beautiful place to meet and place for like a musical family tree to expand from, you know. Josh is very instrumental and very important in that kind of, the way people come together around his the sphere that he creates.
You told a funny story last night about that, about how you wrote that song,
Yeah.
and they left you hanging.
Oh, by the way, I got a quick story. Okay, so you guys might not have known that I wrote that song, but I wrote it, and then Josh goes, "Can we use that song for Songs for the Deaf?" I said, "Of course." He goes, "But you know, Mark and Nick and I are gonna tour it, so you should give us like 10% each." You know? I said, "Okay, cool, great, absolutely, of course. I love you guys, of course." And so the album comes out, and it says, "Written by Jaime Olivieri Lanigan," and my name is not even on it. And I'm telling my friends, I wrote this great song for the Queens of the Stone. And they're like, "Liar, you didn't write shit."
The credits got messed up, and my name wasn't on as one of the writers in the first 100, I think, several thousand, you know, maybe 100,000 of the vinyl. And so I was telling my friends, oh, wait till you hear this cool song that I wrote. And they're like, no, you didn't write. What are you talking about? And I'm like, I got the credits right here. I was like, oops.
Sound City, I don't think they fixed it. Your name, I noticed, wasn't on
Oh,
there.
the last credits, yeah. I was told they were there. I was actually watching when they said, no, it was there. I was like, oh, okay.
Let's play some Al songs. Let's go.
I'm kind of the man in the shadows, as it were. Not because I chose to be. I just my personality is more team. You know, go team. No, I in team. Relationship is very important to me. Whether it's connection with just another person or a group of people, I think you could achieve amazing things when you join forces and you selflessly, with at least ego or at least the negative aspect of ego, leave that to the side and just work towards something amazing. You know, something timeless. That's why I always feel so good inside. You know. At the same time, it's really strange because I've made solo records in which I work exclusively by myself. But it's strange because I still feel like Natasha's presence, you know, with me. So in a way, it's still like collaborating. She's like so deeply inside my psyche, my mind, and my soul. So I can almost access her internally, you know, like asking advice or in the form of a spontaneous decision, you know, or just like trusting. That's a big part of my solo album process is trusting, you know, that, and not overthinking it, you know. It doesn't have to be perfect, you know, it has to have the energy of the initial inception. Or rather, I think of it more of a transmission that I've been preparing all my life to receive and manifest as much of a totality as possible, you know.
That's a beautiful way to look at it.
I mean, it's what it feels like to me, you know. I don't feel like I own any of it or like I did, you know. It's more like, it's just out there, you know.
How does it all happen for you? Like, you know, how does it come? Like, do lyrics come first or music come first?
You know, the lyrics usually come after, and which is funny, but there's already imagery inherent in the melody and the harmony and the lyrics and the atmosphere of the song. You know, whether it has longing or melancholy or anger or whatever. And sometimes it's like when I'm first kind of improvising the fragments, like which I do on Instagram very often. Some kind of vocalese will come, some words, you know. They're not really words, they're sounds. And sometimes the vowelization sticks and becomes kind of like the central thing, you know. If morning, you know, whatever. If morning comes, I will kneel to the sun. And then it just kind of flows out. So I don't think I've actually recorded a vocal singing a lyric I've memorized because I just wrote it. I'm actually reading it as I'm singing it, almost like interpreting it in the moment, reacting to it, you know, because it's so fast, it's so quick. And I just kind of convinced myself that, well, first of all, I feel like this pressure building up. It's not a bad pressure, it's just like kind of feeling like something's ready to pop, you know. And so then I just wait for that moment, and then I kind of set up the environment so that I can pull it off. Like, okay, nothing to do for a week, or, you know, get the instruments ready, put some mics up, you know, and then just like listen for it, and then just start, you know. And once I start, then it starts to move. It's almost like a dam where you just open the thing up and whoosh, it starts to flow, you know. And that's what happened with Hum. Like 12 days later, I had a whole record. And when I started with a chord sequence for the first song, and I just imagined the entire album in sequence, and I kept listening for the next song, and each day I would basically compose, record, mix, and put that song to bed by the evening, and the next morning listen to those first two songs, and then what's the third song? Then what's the fourth song, you know? That was the process for Hum, you know, that was quite intense. And on that one I had, Mark Lanigan was home, and he was on the other line, he was on the text. I would email him quick MP3 bounces of where I was at. And he was amazing and just giving me input, like, yeah, let's go, this is good, oh, it needs a little, you know, like that. It was like having a producer or something too. That was a really amazing feeling. Because it was usually the other way around, because you know, I've been producing his records.
You.
Yeah, he had my back. It's like we had this very great natural way of like it was understood, like he could actually approach it as if everything that he heard in his mind, I would, you know, try to manifest for him, you know. And he didn't necessarily have to be super clear about what he heard. I just had a feeling the way he was expressing it, and like as I was searching of how he was reacting to what I was doing. It's not like he knew when it was right, you know. So I just had to make him feel good about it so that he would want to sing it, and then we would add a few touches at the end, and that was the process. Usually only about 4 or 5 hours per song, you know. And then of course the guests, you know, they would add their stuff. But the core of the song, that was usually the process, you know.
You're so eclectic, and you've done it. You've had so many bands, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you can always hear that it's you, that you've touched something, whether you know
Oh,
you're,
awesome.
you know, and even things you produce. How is it different for you producing or doing your own solo stuff?
I mean, I look at it as part of the same process. I'm really good at sensing what is needed, and I don't want to derail someone else's process. So some bands want you know, it feels like they want help in songwriting or whatever. Some are just happy to be in an environment that is caring and loving and supportive, you know, and fun. And sometimes, this is what I do. I'm very vocal and honest about what I hear. Like, this could be better if it had this. And I don't say it needs something. I just have possibilities to play you of what it could be. And then it immediately, when the getting to know you process, it becomes this, like, everyone in the room knows when it's right, you know? So it's not even like the suggestions I come up with are already within the realm of what feels right for it, you know? I'm really good at kind of absorbing a paradigm or a worldview of a particular artist and then figuring out what is assistive in that situation. There's a sound, maybe, but there's definitely like a process that happens every time I'm involved with something, you know. And so far I've been really lucky. There's only been one situation, maybe even two, in 20-some years where it didn't work, where I was incapable of stopping a self-sabotage, you know. And the artists, like, there was no way that anything was going to work. They made sure of that. But it's really interesting, and it's the same process as for myself. It's a slightly more forward or, you know, supportive role. Either it's like a lead role or a supportive role, but it's all to me the same thing. I just look at it like a continuum of a creative process that is based on communication, you know, like communicating human experiences, communicating the possibilities, you know, the beauty of life. Something that, you know, because music has that power to help us, you know, and be there for us whenever there's tremendous suffering or tremendous happiness or all of the entire pendulum from one side to the other. Music can be there, and that's what I love.
I'd love to play something from Spark. This, as you know, this album that I made for Natasha. A lot of you know Natasha here.
A lot of the albums I've been a part of, people come up to me after the shows and they thank me for being a part of something that helped them through their hard years or like define a period in their lives or is still helping them now. With my album for Natasha, which was based on dealing with the grief and the pain and the suffering, at the same time honoring the beauty of having been so lucky to have spent 25 years with someone so incredible, and the love that you know there was. A lot of people that have experienced grief are moved by that album, and they come up and they tell me, and they, you know, it feels really amazing to you know, that there's, I mean, being entertained is a beautiful thing too, but it's really amazing when it has a deeper meaning for people, you know, because it does for me. Music as, like, that's the happiest that I am whenever I'm in a creative environment. It doesn't always have to be music, as long as a creative environment can be like when I'm around my you know, painter friends or poet friends. It's like it's a particular antidote to all the negative aspects of existence, you know.
How did you know you wanted to be a musician?
I was 4, but I remember, like, you know, yeah, I mean, it's pretty young, but I was very fortunate that my uncles and my mom, and you know, they were all in music. They were all more in the performer, entertainer world. But my Uncle Peter was a multi-instrumentalist, you know, and a huge personality. And so there was always music in the house. And he would show up and he would be playing trumpet or flute or drums, and my mom was singing, you know. The music was a big part of everything. And I don't know, I just like immediately gravitated to what I felt when I listened. And then also I looked at him and fascination with the instruments and the sounds they would make. And I felt like a resonance with it, like, and almost like a certainty that was for me, that I could be good at it, you know. So he showed me a few chords on the guitar, and I went in, and I got more serious as time went on. I was enjoying music, and listening to a lot of Beatles. I would make my mom, buy me vinyl and stuff and singles, much more than like, toy soldiers or cars or guns or whatever. It was more about the music. And then just the more I played, and then some key events like having really cool neighbors that would gift me like a Paco de Lucia record, so I heard flamenco guitar for the first time. Then Zeppelin and Hendrix appeared, and because I was living in so many different places, my family always traveling, I started to be exposed to different kinds of music and different cultures, and I started to see it all as one thing. There was beautiful differences, but there was the common thread. That's why I became so fascinated with instruments. That's why I have 300 of them in storage, not just guitars.
300.
Yeah, and I just, I used to even
I thought it was
have
more actually. Yeah,
it's
over
probably
400.
more. I had never counted, to be honest with you, but I have so many things that
Somebody said once, I want to steal it. I don't remember who it was, but the guy has over 400 instruments, and what's most astounding is that he can actually play every single one of them, and they're all different instruments.
Well, I'm not a virtuoso really on any of them, but I can use them in a musical context to communicate something important with a sound that instrument makes. That's what fascinated me about it. Plus, I love how they look. Indian classical instruments, Arabic instruments, African instruments, Slavic instruments, Celtic instruments, like South American instruments. There's like a common thing to them, like with strings and then things with heads and then like winds. They are the personality and the face of a culture, but yet they also can reach across. There's people that listen to music from other countries that didn't grow up in that culture, and yet it moves them. Even when you don't understand the lyric, you get moved in a universal way, And obviously, like, it's a little frustrating sometimes. It's like, what is the lyric here? What is it? But beyond that, something is being transmitted and received, And I've just been fascinated with that, That's why I collect, and I pick up a new instrument every year or two. I just wish I had enough time to get good at them. And I keep picking quite difficult ones to get good at, because a lot of the discipline it takes, you have to be kid and start to be a virtuoso. You have to be playing it, 10 hours a day since you're.
I think you're okay.
Yeah, 6, yeah.
I think you.
But like I said, the goal is not to be a virtuoso or even to use it to play music from where it comes from. I'm not going to play a raga on a sitar or a sarod. I listen to them all the time, but I'm going to use it as in the song I hear that sound. If it's that texture that I want, that kind of phrasing. Then I have that instrument. I practice the part for like whatever an hour before, and I record it.
What do you mean by texture?
Texture is the way that it sounds and what it does and the atmosphere of the song for orchestration. Like you have one line that can have, like say, alto flute with a sarod with a harmonium. That's one sound together playing a line. And then what if it was like a marxophone with a so it's like. It's so beautiful because these are tonal colors, that convey something or can underscore something in what you're conveying, either lyrically or in the atmosphere of the song.
Well, of course, we know you did it with Euphoria Morning, Chris Cornell, and Desert Sessions, but for the new bands that you produce now, do you ever just pick up an instrument and play for them?
Oh, yeah, I've been playing a lot of guest guitar, like Lost Satellite and Patron. I play bass sometimes, and sometimes I add some other colors too. Which is really nice because then it's nice because I get to guest on something and just part of the
It's a little more than producing. Producer extraordinaire.
Well, I try not to like insist or anything, but if they ask me, then I'm down, and usually I wait till they ask me. I play hard to get for a second.
Self-taught.
Yes.
Incredible. You can't read music.
I cannot. No, I could have, but I had a really unpleasant teacher. The first one I had for a few months, he was kind of a sadist. So I equated like physical pain with learning to read and all that stuff. Obviously that's completely incorrect. I was just unlucky. I just didn't understand. But then I just went on this journey of like, also this part of me that loves the feeling of the innocence of picking something up for the first time and the excitement when it's a mystery still. So kind of like I've managed for how many years now? 58 years now? Yeah. 58 years to keep it mysterious, you know, because I play instruments, and then I can figure things out. I can figure out, like, if I look at this chart or you know, sheet music, okay, that I know what the note is. I know what this rhythm is. It takes me a second, you know, and I figure what the notes in this chord are and how it works in the harmony. I've been around it long enough for that. But it's not what happens first. What happens first is I hear it in my mind, and then I try to make the time between hearing it and playing it to be as short as possible, you know. So it's very instinctive, you know. And when I grab an instrument, I just try, it's just the excitement of, like, how do you get that to, like, how do I get the sound to be better, bigger, like, you know, and listen to amazing virtuosos on the instrument. And then I try to see some footage and I figure things out. I start off sounding awful, and then within a day, I'm sounding okay, you know. And then maybe 2 days I'm sounding better than that. And then at some point I get enough confidence that I can actually use it on a recording, you know. But I kind of lean on the cool like texture of like drunken sailors playing stuff, you know. So it's got a vibe, like, you know, like, you know, that's where your intonation doesn't have to be perfect. Kind of like create you know, the circus or macabre or that kind of vibe in some of this stuff.
And where did that come from?
Just listening to all kinds of music. I like a lot of Tom Waits records have this amazing textures, you know, and the way the things are played and feel. To me, feel is very important. And, you know, I found very often, like, you can hire people that are amazing players, and to get them to understand how it should sit inside the track is more difficult than if you already know how.
What about your voice? Did you always know you could sing?
In a eternal fall to grace, playing out in decaying space, oh, travel on.
I was kind of the default singer in the beginning. I could sing, but you know.
You have a beautiful voice.
thank
You
you.
really do. We always
I
talk
still
about Natasha's voice, but your guitar playing's so insane
Yeah. Well,
that I think
Natasha
everybody
was,
sees
you know,
that.
singer. Her voice, Mark Lanigan, Chris Cornell. These are singers, you know, like real singers, and in the sense that, you know, I want to communicate the song, and I think I've been getting better, especially after I quit stupidly was smoking for a while, and I quit smoking a few years ago, right before the pandemic, which probably helped me survive getting COVID that bad that early. Yeah, I mean, I could probably focus and develop it much more seriously in terms of the technical aspect of it, but it's like, again, like everything else, it's very, very visceral for me. But with the first bands we had with Hillel Slovak, Jack Irons, and I, since we were in junior high, I was a default singer. But often I wanted to play guitar and not have to worry about singing, you know, and do both. But yeah, but Natasha had the amazing voice. But I'm glad that people enjoy my voice. I'm glad that's good.
It's beautiful, and you can hear every word you say, which I love.
Thank you.
I love. Tell us about, you mentioned it a little bit, the Hillel, the whole LA scene, Orange County scene.
It was an amazing time. I
Your
moved.
start.
Yeah, like pretty much a year after I got to the States, went to Bancroft Junior High, met Jack in a really unusual way. Those guys were really into Kiss, and they dressed up as Kiss with these amazingly elaborate costumes. And we both had homeroom together, you know. And I didn't speak very much English yet. I was just learning it. And he sat behind me, and he was walking down the aisle with his Gene Simmons outfit. And I don't know what got into me, but as he's walking by, he's got the cod piece, you know, the metallic looking thing like in his outfit. And I just went like, I punched it like lightly, thinking that, you know, it must be protected, you know. And he's like, ow, you know, you asshole. And he told Hillel, this kid, like, he's a punch. He goes, what does he look like? Oh, he goes, oh, that guy's a really good guitar player. We should jam with him, you know. So we started jamming together, and then we literally would go every day after school to Jack's house and had our stuff set up. And then we didn't get a bass player until 10th grade. And then Todd, our bass player, then quit, and Flea was our friend that played trumpet, Michael Balzary. And we asked him to join the band because we had a battle of the bands at Gazzari's in 3 months' time, you know, and that's where the origins of Anthym, you know, the first band we had.
Anthem, so good, so
Yeah,
heavy.
and those recordings were great too. We just recently unearthed, and became What Is This? And then Flea left to join Fear. We got Chris Hutchinson, and you know, and the Peppers and What Is This coexisted for a while, and then we both got a record deal offers the same week, and Hillel and Jack stayed with me. That's why, even though they were founding members of the Peppers, they're not on the very first record, you know. So Hillel left first during the Todd Rundgren produced long play of What Is This? Natasha joined the band, and then Jack went back to the Peppers. Natasha and I were just a duo for a while. And then after Hillel passed away, Jack quit, and then Natasha, Jack, and I formed 11 in 1990.
Hillel Slovak, he's like an iconic figure. He was so young when he passed.
Yeah, he's
What was he
27.
like?
He was him and I were closest, I think. We spent the most time together. Like, he would come stay over. We'd loved music so much together, and we had a really great connection. When he passed away, Natasha and I were in England, and Jack called, and it destroyed me, like, both of us, you know. It was like our first huge death, you know. We had been a little bit estranged for a while, you know. He was in the Peppers now, and he started using drugs, and I wasn't that person, you know. He kind of, like, our friendship started to strain a little because he wanted me to join him in the kind of, like, world of, you know, a little more, you know, kind of like William Burroughs, Henry Miller, like the dark side, you know, a little bit of hanging out, and it wasn't for me, you know, because I remember when the drug use started to happen, like the band started to sound bad for the first time, you know. It was the next morning or whatever. I was been very serious about the music sounding good. So if the second anything got in the way of that, I rejected it, you know. But still, so I went into a deep tailspin, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, and the whole thing. That kind of triggered the first kind of breakdown, you know, and for Jack as well. It's funny when I think about what life could have been like if he would have been. But he was an incredible force as a guitar player, as a musician, and it was, you know, I had been playing way longer than them. There were adult bands and people older than me that wanted me to be part of their band because I was quite good already, you know, way beyond our teenage years, you know, in terms of like whatever that is considered, but good enough to be offered to be in bands with older people, with adults. But something about Hillel and Jack, like our connection together, they'd only been playing a couple of years when we first started. But I was there because we, you know, almost like I waited for them a little tiny bit, you know, they were getting better off really fast. Yeah, so and that was, well, Fairfax High was a big, you know, meeting place. I mean, Slash went there, Rami Jaffe, tons of actors and painters, and just a really amazing Keith Barry, who ran Flea's conservatory. You know, he was the jazzer, and he was a jazz man in the group of friends. Yeah, it was a beautiful time.
You're my diamond, and I hold you like a mother's newly born. You're my diamond, as I love you. It's the end, I am undone.
And the Natasha connection, there's nothing like that.
So Aaron Jacobus was our buddy in school, and he was our manager. And then for some reason he wasn't anymore, and then he kind of used that energy to I'll show them, you know. And he started working for A&M Records. And he saw Natasha on TV. She had done some movies, but she was talking about music because, you know, he found her and brought her in for an interview to ask her, you know, what do you want to do? I'm interested in your music. You're awesome. I said, well, yes, thank you, but I'd love to find another. You know, I want to collaborate and I want to form a duo, you know. And it took him a second to bring her over to meet me, you know, like a few months, because he kept taking her to like famous people that had gold records on the wall, and she wasn't impressed with anybody. The night before we met, I had a dream I was going to meet her, which is essentially me, you know, clearing in the forest, and there's a seesaw, and it's too dark, I can't see her, but we're going like this, counterbalancing each other. So my name is Natasha, we're going to meet. And the next day, Aaron Jacobus brought her over to the house to meet me. And I told my mom about the dream, and she opened the door. I was in my room. My mom remembers like opening the door. Aaron goes, "Here's Natasha." And Natasha remembers my mom going, "Whoa, what?" You know. And literally, like we met, and at first I thought we recognized each other for a second. And then she played me the stuff that she'd done in Motown, and I loved it. I played her "Was This," and we started to work on some music together, and then within 2 weeks, we moved in together, you know. I was like 22 years old, and that was at 25 years later, you know, a little more. It was amazing. We just had this connection from day one, and we spent 24/7 for all that time, you know? Like when our friends started to have kids that could start to speak, they would call us both the same name, Alan and Natasha. Alan and Natasha, you know. I like to think of it like we both of us made like one super person, you know.
But that voice and
her musicality, just period, just her genius as a composer, as an arranger, like she was being groomed to be the next amazing Russian composer, classical music, you know, when she was just 10, you know, conservatory. Like she just had those ears. She could listen to a piece of music and remember everything that was played, you know. Completely the opposite of me, which that's why I think it all worked so well, you know. But she was also very improvisational, you know. She could read and she could play and she could, but like she could compose like without instruments, you know. She's like hearing that and seeing, and then, you know. So that was the one tricky part when we worked together, because I was trying to find something on the guitar. She's like, shh. I was like, okay. Or she'd be like, I hear this. Okay, you play this, and I'd be like on the guitar. I'd be like, I'm stretching to get all the notes that she wants to hear, like this chord. I'm like, okay, I got the chord, but now what? I was like, just gonna stay here for a while. But now I need to go over here. I was like, okay. All kinds of things get unjogged, as it were.
let's talk about your solo work a little, and what's next. How many solo albums do you have?
I have 3. I have Spark for Natasha, Fragments and Holes Volume 1, which I did in 2015, and Hum, which I did in 2021, yeah. I'm going to go to Santiago in December and spend 2 or 3 months there, at least. I need to finish the album with my trio, with Cote Fonseca and Fela Fonseca. We have a few songs that we started. We have one that everyone's heard that with Mike Patton guested on it, called Luna Sol. Trying to do it remotely, but I've also been touring so much. We need to be together in the same place. So it's going to be a good window of time to finish that. And I need to do the volume 2 of Fragments and Holes. I'm producing a couple things coming up, and then I think I'm going to head to Chile. You know, I need to take care of a couple things with my health, and that's going to be the plan for the immediate future. There's some touring already with Masters of Reality next year, with Earl of Hell. We got a UK, Ireland, Scotland tour coming up. But it's definitely time to put out some music now. Yeah. I feel more of an urgency to do that more often, you know, instead of waiting 5 years between 2010, 2015, and 2022, you know, 21.
This is Life Minute. What's your life advice?
I somehow I keep retaining that childlike wonder about things, you know. I mean, especially now with so much adversity and people behaving so awfully to each other in social media, and this kind of tightening and closing. It's like everything is open and yet everything is tighter, you know, like information is out there, but most of it is lies. And really, you know, all this craziness like happening. And what keeps me going through that is like I focus on the beautiful things in my life, you know, the deep friendships, you know, the beautiful things that I love. It's like nature, animals, you know, art, all that stuff. And I try to wake up each day. First of all, wake up extremely thankful that I have another day. And I try not to dwell on the past too much. It's more like honor it and be thankful for the good things that have happened, not like regret things as much. And I try not to be afraid of what's coming. Like, nobody knows. So because of so many years of having the anxiety disorder and depression and kind of like nervous things, you know, it's like where somehow, luckily, I've managed to figure out a way to quiet my mind, you know, because if I let it, the chatters, it won't stop. So I kind of have a couple of tricks. I have a couple of affirmation mantras that I keep repeating in the background when the trigger on wherever I'm uncomfortable or something. So I will just say, in my mind, there's a part that says, I love and approve of myself. I trust the process of life. I am safe. I love and approve of myself. I trust the process. And it's just sitting there, you know, like I turn it on like a cassette, you know. If my brain is going to be doing something bad, I'd rather it just repeat these phrases that make me feel good, you know. You should have, you could have, and, you know, you'll never, you know, and all that who knows where that voice comes from, but I think we all have it, you know, self-doubt. And so why give it any real estate at all in your thought process? Or at least realize it's there and just treat it as what it is. It's just it's nothing, you know, just bye, you know. I think your subconscious doesn't realize what a big difference between what you're living and what you're thinking, you know. So it takes a while to figure this stuff out, you know. Hopefully, well, it's just some time left to enjoy things. So obviously I don't have perfect days all the time, but the overall tendency is to be more positive. Really unreasonably so, considering a lot of things that are happening, but you know, why not, right?
I love it. That's
Cool.
awesome.
Awesome.
Are you going to play for us?
Yes, I'd love to play for you. Eyes up to the sky, shades of gray, covering up an infinite display. While it's spinning out, oh yes, so still. All our freedom tempered by our will. Be the motion of becoming. Dance a deadly dance while time is running out, out, and into love's embrace. See the breeze caressing where you end, only to begin again and then. A deeper sense awaken when I stop. Trying so hard to riddle what is not. Oh, the motion of becoming. Dance a deadly dance while time is running out, 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 and into love's embrace. Thank you. That was called Eyes to the Sky. You'll have to play something from Spark. This is called Return to You. Giving love, when the harness of the world gone astray is kept far away. Love, every seed can find its way to the sun while having fun. Giving love, oh love, all the emptiness is felt till it bursts, releasing the curse, the better worse. Oh yeah, you took me away, made me forget this was real. Forget this is real. Took me away into that place that I've lost, but I will return. Yeah, I will return to you. Impossible becomes what you do, becomes what you do. Giving love, you can find yourself inside someone else and see who you are. the love, oh love, while the emptiness is felt till it bursts, releasing a curse for better or worse. So yeah, took me away, you made me forget this is real, forget this is real. Took me away into that place that I lost, but I will return, yeah, I will return to you. To you. All right, I'd love to play the Desert Sessions version, the OG version of Hanging Tree. Called You're My Diamond, an 11th song from Howling Book. I speak your name and when the world steals away my sight. Oh, you the warmth inside my bones. You the circle in my songs. You're my diamond, and I hold you like a mother's newly born. You're my diamond, as I love you. It's the end, I'm undone. With as much older than the sea. Ooh, you bring a storm right into me. Ooh, an empty grave where I should be. Ooh, an empty noose upon the tree. You're my diamond, and I hold you like a mother's newly born. You're my diamond, as I love you. You see, and I'm undone. You're my diamond, and I keep you, so I'll never be alone. You're my diamond, and I hold you like a mother's newly born. You're my diamond, as I love you. You see, and I am undone. You're my diamond, and I hold you like a mother's newly born. You're my diamond, as I love you. You see, and I'm undone. Shine your glow on me. Oh, oh, oh. Shine your glow on me. Hey, hey, hey. Shine your glow on me. Shine your glow, so I'll never be alone. Thank you very much.
To hear more of this interview, visit our podcast, Life Minute TV, on iTunes and all streaming podcast platforms.